right, so I have it's about 4 o'clock. We first want to say welcome to the reboot session. I will be working with you all today. My name is Brittany Campbell, and I'm one of the lead coaches here at NISE. On the call, I also have Christy Chaka. So, Christy, if you'd like to introduce yourself, just real quick, say hi.
Hi, I'm Christy.
So Audrey had an engagement today and could not be here. I know she is the coach for this cohort. So we're filling in just as other coaches to get you all, jazzed up and excited about your NCST journey. So just to kind of get us started, this is being recorded so that way if anybody could not make it, we can share the recording after today's session. Today will be, more hands-on where you're actually working on an indicator. So if you can have 2 screens set up, that would probably be helpful. And then if you can also log into your account, that would also be helpful. If you are, catching us on the fly, so if you're driving or, still have kiddos in your classroom and you can't fully participate, again, going back and watching that recording while you're interacting with your screen would be a recommendation. So I am going to put a link in the chat for everybody, again, one more time. If you cannot access your account, I would ask you to make sure you put your name and your email information on the document in the chat. So that way we can make sure that your account is good to go. So I know you guys launched back in the fall. And so if it's been a while, you haven't logged into your account may have been suspended. I had our tech department work on that today. You should have access to your account again as of today. So if it was suspended and you haven't logged in a while, if you'll try to log in again, it should hopefully as of today be good to go for you. How your NISE account first gets set up. So if you did not initially set up your account, you received an email from learning@NISE.institute, and you have 5 days from receiving that email to set your account up. Again, if you have not set up your initial account, if you'll make sure your name is on that document, as soon as we wrap up here today, I will have him resend you out a link so that way you can set up your account. But again, it is timely. Make sure you handle that within 5 days, or else you'll have to request a new link be sent out to you. So for today's session, we're going to do a quick review of the program. And then we're also going to have some breakout time where you have time to do some work. For now, if you'll make sure you're on mute, so that way everybody can get the most out of their session without any interference, that would be great. So just to kind of go over our goals for today. Again, our goal is to kind of review so that way we understand the NCST design. We're going to do a quick review of navigating the NISE portal. And then our goal for everyone is to leave today's session with an indicator complete and ready to be submitted. Just a quick review of why this program is so great and why I would select this program to go through to impact my teaching. So these are some of the things that we focus on. Our whys are self-reflection of our own teaching, moving more towards student-centered approaches. We're all about immediate application, taking small, tiny steps that we can implement in our classrooms right away to create change. Basically, it's a total game changer for how you approach your daily classroom activities. Overall, again, it's not a revamp of what you're currently doing. It's small shifts that we hope will make a huge impact on student learning in your classrooms. Now, the what to the program. There are basically 3 different domains that you'll work through. And they are scaffolded upon each other. So the first one is creating an environment for learning. So setting up your classroom, facilitating group work, having the materials that students need. All of that falls under our first domain. The second domain is building scientific literacy. And then the third domain is where we bring in scientific and engineering practices. For your portfolio submissions, you can work in any order that you would like. You do not have to begin on indicator 1 and then finish on indicator 38. Now, it probably makes the most sense because they are scaffolded. Essentially, we would want you to become proficient in domain 1 before moving to domain 2, before moving on to domain 3. But the great thing about the program is it has lots of flexibility for you to work on your indicators in any order that you choose. So if you break it down, there are 3 different domains. Within each of the domains, there's 15 actions, and then we break down those 15 actions into the 38 indicators, which that is what you will submit a portfolio submission for each of the 38 indicators. Now, I want to do a quick review of the portal. So, like I said, if you can log in and have multiple screens going, it might be helpful for you to click along with us. Or, like I said, feel free to just pay attention, kind of watch a little bit, and I'm going to hit the highlights, and then we'll work through this again in our session time as well. So once you log in to your portal, it'll look like this. Our portal is designed to be kind of a one-stop shop for it to have everything there that you need right there at the tip of your fingers. There's a couple of different ways for you to move about the portal. When you first log in and you see your dashboard, this will kind of be your quick glance of how you're doing. So you'll see here, it'll tell you how many indicators you have completed. So once they are approved and finished, that will go here. Anytime your coach has provided you new feedback, it'll pop up here. And then you'll see overall, sometimes you may be asked to do a resubmit, so that'll be noted here as well. So this just kind of is your quick glance of how you're doing. Now, 2 ways to work through the portal. Obviously, you can click launch. When you click launch, it's going to bring up this screen here. Another way to access this screen here is by clicking over here on the left. At any point in time, you can click on the NCST certificate map. Now, if you want to work on it by domain, one domain at a time, you can click and it'll show you one domain at a time. So you'll see different actions, and then you can click further and it'll take you down into the indicators within that action. I personally think it's easier for me to click the expand all. So you'll see here, I'll click expand all, and then I can go to whatever indicator I'm working on. I may have to scroll down if I'm going down to one that's further. Another big piece to navigating the portal is this right here. You have the computer. The computer is for your learning. And then you have the portfolio, which is where you'll do your work. We do recommend that you spend time in the learning part of the portal before you begin. This will explain the indicator and kind of give you some basic information to it. So here I'm on indicator 21. Notice if I click the arrows up here, it'll take me to the next indicator. So now I'm on indicator 22. If I click right here where the 3 lines are in this circle, that's where it'll bring up my learning. We recommend that you kind of start from the top and work your way down into the learning. So the first look is typically some type of reflection before you begin learning. And then you can arrow forward to the next slide, Or like I said, this 3 lines here kind of lets you go section by section where you want to go if you want to just look at bits and pieces. Sometimes you may feel really proficient in an indicator topic and you may not need to spend as much time in the portal. But then on your topics that maybe you're not as comfortable with, you may want to dive a little bit deeper. So we really encourage you spend some time in here so that way you understand what that indicator is really, the essence of that indicator, if you will. Now, along with it, we also have our content section. So again, that's where we have our computers or our work section, the portfolio. So now if I'm ready to do my work, I will click on that portfolio. And this is where all of your work will be done. One of the first things that you'll need before you go in to do an observation is your collecting evidence document. For every indicator, we have an editable version as well as just a printable version that you can't digitally edit. I usually would choose the editable version if I'm tech savvy and I just want to be able to type on it. Personally, I printed out mine and did all of mine by hand, but it's really up to your preference. But you will need your collecting evidence documents before you go to do an observation. After that, after you've done your observation with your collecting evidence document in hand, that's when you'll be able to click start and begin your portfolio submission, which looks like this. We're going to dive more into the portfolio submission in our sessions today. So I'm just going to kind of pause on that, but I did want to show you quickly how to access it. Lastly, a couple other key features. I've already mentioned that collecting evidence document. If you ever want to access it super fast, if you click on this document here, or this collecting evidence document right here in your portal, it is going to pull up a PDF of every single collecting evidence document. Again, a recommendation typically is to print them all out so you're ready to go and have them anytime you're ready to walk in and do an observation, whether it be on your own teaching or a colleague's teaching. If you are unable to do in-person recommendations, you can watch any educational video that you can get your hands on. We do have a video portal set up for you. So if you click on the library of videos, you can actually search by action items or you can search by indicators. So let's say I want to search by indicator 22. I would click on it here and then I would click apply. And then it's going to pull up any videos that would pertain to that particular indicator. When you are working on an observation, typically we ask you to spend about 20 minutes on an observation. However, if you can complete your collecting evidence document and your contextual data in less than that time, thoroughly, in less than 20 minutes, by no means do we expect you to stay in there, counting down the seconds to the 20 minutes. Again, we recommend a 20-minute window for an observation time, but really the observation is for you to be collecting your evidence on your collecting evidence document and filling in your contextual data so that way your coach has an idea of what's going on in that classroom. Now I'm going to come back to the slides. Again, we will dive into the portal as well in our breakout sessions. But for now, we're going to kind of start moving in that direction. So today we wanted to give you an opportunity to kind of work on an indicator and it be an indicator that you are needing to complete, hopefully. So we have 2 options today. Today, I'll be staying in the main room. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the breakout room now. So I just opened up one breakout room. I am going to rename it Christy's room. So then once I explain, you can decide if you stay with me or if you go with Christy. So checking it out, if you stay in room 1, we will be working on indicator 1. So if you have not submitted any submissions, this is the place to start. If you have already completed 1 or 2 or multiple submissions, we recommend that you go with Christy and work on indicator 26 in the breakout room. So you have 2 options. At this point, I would say if you would like to go with Christy, you can go. Let me make sure it's opened up. Her room should be available and you should be able to select it. Are there any questions so far?
I had a question.
Yes.
If I heard you correctly, if we need,
Okay, I heard you and then it stopped for some reason.
how about now?
Now, yes.
Okay, so if I hear you correctly, because I was under the impression that if we use videos as opposed to a live classroom, we had to use the ones from the site. But you're saying any video classroom instruction would do.
Yes. Any classroom instructional video, even if it's not within our portal, as long as you are providing enough of the contextual data for your coach, you should be good to go. All right. So we're going to go ahead and begin working on some work for indicator 1. Let me make sure. Is there anybody that wants to go to the breakout room that doesn't know how to get to the breakout room? No? I think it put everybody in Christie's.
No, we're all here. There's
Okay.
7 still in this group.
Okay.
With you.
Okay.
Yeah, we're still here.
Looks like it doesn't show that on mine, which is weird.
Well, 8 now. I guess somebody came back.
Perfect. Well, we'll get started then. All right. So for our time today, we're going to work on indicator 1. So for indicator 1, we don't even have to necessarily do an observation. That's why we love to start with indicator 1. So what I'm going to do in the chat is I'm going to put a link to the collecting evidence document for indicator 1. You should be able to access it. If you have access to a printer or if you were able to print it before the session, I think that would be a great place to start. So if we look at indicator 1 and the collecting evidence document for it, I'm going to pull it over to the screen. This is what indicator 1 looks like. So it says, it kind of sets the tone. For this indicator, you're going to do a tour of a classroom. So we were thinking it would be great for you to tour your own classroom. So then in the space below, you're going to sketch a general layout of your classroom. Be sure that you're looking for evidence of the following: where materials are located, whether or not the student has any ownership for the selection and access of materials, and how safety is maintained. Then you will select, so you can circle, you can highlight, you can check mark the boxes that you feel your classroom falls under. So we have 3 different levels. We have proficient, gaining skill, novice. And the three different parameters that you're looking at are order, accessibility, and safety. So I'm going to give you a few minutes just to kind of collect your thoughts on your collecting evidence document, and then we'll kind of go from there. So a few minutes to work on that. It's 4:21 now. So I'm going to let you work on that for a few minutes, and then we'll kind of come back together after that. And if you have any questions, I will be glad to answer them. All right, so as you're working on your collecting evidence document, again, this is just a quick one of what my classroom looked like and kind of where I fell. So just to kind of show you an example of what this collecting evidence document might look like is, again, I drew a quick area where things are in my classroom, where supplies are, and then I rated myself based on where I feel like I felt. If you couldn't get it to print, for now, what I would do is maybe just sketch a drawing that you can snap a picture and attach to this, or, like embed with this kind of where you can turn them both in together. So if you, for the classroom drawing, you can even just sketch it on a piece of paper and then just combine it with this rubric to turn it in. That's completely fine. So you're collecting evidence documents. Like I said, for me, it was easiest for me to print them all, keep them all in one space. And then whenever I would go in to do an observation, I would try to be smart and I would say, okay, when I go do this observation, what other indicators can I get done? So that's another trick to this, is be smart and efficient with your time. If you can get more than one indicator done during a 20-minute observation, we do encourage that. So you might want to group the indicators together and say, okay, today I'm going to go in and I'm going to try to work on indicator. And honestly, the one that we're looking at today really pairs well with the first set of 1 through 7 indicators. So today, yes, you have your collecting evidence document for indicator 1, but you could also begin working on the collecting evidence documents for indicator 2, indicator 3, indicator 4, and so on. The second piece to your portfolio submission, after you have your collecting evidence document complete, is your typing in your contextual data. So let me show you how I would get there for indicator 1. Again, you can either click on launch. I usually come over here to the left side and click on NCST certificate map. Again, just out of habit, I always click expand all. Today I'm working on indicator 1, and because I'm working on the portfolio, I would click on the briefcase. Once I click on the briefcase, here is where I would start my work. So you'll notice here it says we use autosave functionality. To avoid data loss, do not open this form in several tabs. So again, if I try to always begin and end one and not get it lost, that sort of thing, it should autosave, but it's not a perfect system either. So contextual data, you'll see here for contextual data, it says provide sufficient contextual information to help you efficiently draw conclusions and make recommendations. You do not have to complete every single bullet. You have to be able to give your coach enough information so they know what's going on in that classroom to be able to judge your understanding. So don't feel like you do have to fill out every bullet. Usually, pick and choose the ones that most pertain to that area. So you'll see here, this is already one that started. What I would always do is I would copy and paste the bullets first. And, well, maybe not. Yeah. And then I would go in and start filling it in. So then I would say, 24 students and kind of all the pertinent information. The great thing about contextual data, if you are going to reuse this observation for other indicators, use copy paste and just reuse your contextual data. So be smart about that. If the contextual data can be applied for another indicator that you're using that same observation, you do not have to tweak and change your contextual data. You may want to just note the 2 at the bottom, or actually the 3 at the bottom. These are more specific to that one indicator. So if you're going to be changing any of them, it'll be these that are indicator specific. But everything else can be applied to multiple indicators. Here, this is where you will attach your collecting evidence document. Again, you can attach it in any form as long as your coach can open it. Pictures are great. PDFs are great. Again, Word documents usually work okay too. So generally what we get the most of though is pictures or PDFs. Again, if you decide to do the printed version where you print it out and you fill it out by hand, you just quickly snap a picture that you can upload. Or if you do the editable version, you can save that PDF and upload it here. The next step is where you make a claim. So we provide you with a rubric that's based on that specific indicator. The rubric is consistent in that we have the 4 levels. We start with novice, then we move to gaining skill, then we move to proficient, and then we move to role model. But every rubric is different dependent on that indicator. So, what I want to take a look at now, I'm going to put another piece in the chat. It's really helpful whenever you're making your claim if you focus on what is different between each level. So I just put in the chat a Jamboard. And what I did is I put this rubric and I put on here, what do you notice? What I would love for you to do right now is to pull up this Jamboard if you're able to. Over here, you can click on a sticky note and you can put something that you notice. So you can say, for this one here would be an obvious. I notice that all are about the physical space. Now that's an obvious one. What I want you guys to really focus on is what is different from level to level. So kind of take a look at them, break them down, and what is different as we move from novice to gaining skill to proficient to role model. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to work on that. Oh, sorry. I see y'all saying, I don't see the Jamboard link. I apologize. I did not send that to everyone. Now it went out to everyone. Again, my apologies. So again, you'll click over here, you'll grab yourself a new sticky note, and then you'll type in your thought. All right, so the sticky note that was just added, spot on, great work. From proficient to role model, the difference is that students select materials and equipment as opposed to not really sure, the instructor,
The
right?
instructor is a
Gotcha.
typo.
I gotcha. So, yes, that's a great thing to notice. So, what we really want you to do on your claim is be very specific because you want to make sure that your evidence and your suggestions are in line with that specific indicator. If it, and like I said, kind of focus on what's different from level to level and be sure that if you are addressing if there's two components to an indicator, that both are addressed in your work. So just to kind of take this one in, for example, I kind of tried to show you the differences in this way. So on the second slide, I just kind of honed in on those differences, right? Um, that to me was always helpful whenever I was trying to begin my work. I would highlight keywords in the rubric to help me know, okay, where does my example fall? And then whenever I'm working on my suggestions and my evidence, I want to make sure that I'm bringing in the same verbiage from the rubric into my work. So now what you'll do is you'll make your claim. So basically making your claim is you select, it's simple as moving the mouse and clicking which one you feel like your classroom would be representative of, your classroom observation. From there, you move into your providing evidence and reasoning. I refer to these two as kind of the meat and potatoes of your submission. While, yes, we look at your collecting evidence documents and yes, we look at your contextual data, what we spend the most time on as your coach is really making sure your understanding is here in these two next sections, section 4 and section 5. So what we're going to do now, again, I'm going to put another document in the link or in the chat. We're going to work on this together. So where you'll be able to work and I can give you some immediate feedback. So if you open the document that I just put in the chat, I'm going to drag it over now so everybody can see it. Maybe. Where did it go? So this document we set up to work on our evidence and our recommendations. So for my classroom, that picture example that I showed you, I rated myself as gaining skill. And then I wrote out for you how I would write my evidence. So you want to first begin by, clearly saying what level you selected. You want to have specific evidence that speaks to that rubric level. And you want to make sure that that evidence is strictly aligned with that indicator. You also then will kind of, in a way, justify your selection. In a way, it's almost like you're proving why this is gaining skill and why it's not, proficient or novice. So here is my example. I chose gaining skill because the teacher pre-selected the supplies for the lesson. Students have access to the supplies they need for the lesson. However, they are not given choice or voice in the materials or the equipment they use. All right, so this is a very solid response. So what I would like for you guys to do is down here, if you will take a line, try not to type on anybody else's because we're all going to be working on the same document. I would like for you to put your name and then along with your rubric rating. And then in this box, I want you to actually type out your evidence. I can quickly go in and give you feedback. If I can't give it to you right now while we're in this session, I can give it to you within 24 hours on this document. And then all you have to do is copy and paste it into your submission. So I'm going to give you maybe 5 or so minutes, 4 minutes, we'll say, to work on typing up your evidence right here on this document. And like I said, as you're working, I can be giving you feedback. And then we'll talk about what a solid recommendation looks like.
Are we writing this based on the example that you gave or something that we've observed or?
I would do your own classroom. It's usually easier to do your own classroom for this one.
What about if we're administrative?
So then you can do it based on my example, or
Okay.
you can do it based on a classroom that you've observed on campus.
Okay, thank you.
Either one.
Hi, Miss Campbell.
Yes.
Um, I pretty much finished this one
Okay.
and I'm about to submit it. Would I submit it to you,
No,
this particular?
you would still submit it into the portal and it'll still go to your coach, Audrey, to provide the
Yeah,
official feedback. This
yes,
is just a
ma'am.
working document for today. So if you are ready and confident, you can submit it in the portal and Audrey will get that notification.
Okay, well, I just appreciate the guidance and I think I'll continue to watch and see what's going on. I've been on the road, so I just got to a position to where I can pretty much see everything. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Thank you for taking your time to attend today.
Brittany, did you want us to move on to the suggestion part when we finish one part or no?
If you're ready and you can read that other recommendation and feel ready to rock and roll, go for it. I'll go ahead
Okay.
and just quickly while y'all are working, wrapping up your evidence, I'll talk to the recommendation piece. So just on your recommendation, just always keep in mind your goal is not to make every single teacher a perfect. We're going to focus on little bitty small changes. So pick one suggestion that will move that teacher to the next level. You don't have to change everything that they're doing, but again, whatever recommendation you should make should be specific to that indicator and specific to that teacher to move whatever was lacking in their observation to move them one level higher. So if I have a teacher that's on novice, my goal is not to make them gaining, proficient. My goal is to have them move to gaining skills. If I'm on gaining skills, my goal is not to make them a role model right away. Again, we want to focus on one small tweak or change that's indicator specific that will help them move to that next level. So you'll see here, I even prefaced my recommendation with that. To move the teacher to the rubric rating of proficient, I would recommend the teacher give the students a choice of materials and equipment. So, again, versus it being teacher decided, this is one thing I could tweak or change. And so then I kind of put out here, I followed it up with perhaps a teacher could put a materials list for students to select and choose their items or create an area of materials slash equipment students can always use. The teacher could even let the students, offer their own suggestions for materials. So again, the goal is specific, specific, specific. Make sure it's indicator specific and addresses that teacher's weakness in regards. Again, I'm here if you have any questions. Feel free to start working on it. And again, if I don't give you feedback right now, I will give you feedback within the next 24 hours. And I will also send this document out in a follow up email. So, in case you lose it today, whenever we log off, I'll send it out so you can have access to it again. Hopefully by tomorrow, um, midday, I'll have a follow-up email with everything that we did today.
Hey, Brittany, I sent you a message, a direct message in the chat.
Oh, yes. Okay. Let me respond. Sorry. When I'm talking, I get busy talking. I don't multitask well.
And why are you doing that? I just want to say for the record, when she says Audrey, if you could just mention her last name, my name is Audra, and I don't want anybody to send anything to me because somebody asked me that before. It's like, no, our coach, our collective coach, her name is Audrey. I cannot think of her last name, but if you could definitely say first and last name when you say Audrey, just so everybody's clear on who we're talking
Okay.
about.
Yes, I'm going to call her Audrey M because I'm not honestly 100% certain how to pronounce her last name.
Me either.
Audrey M is what we're going to go with for today. I'll put her information even in the chat for everybody. I think everybody's coming back to us. All right. So in the chat, I have put Audrey, your coach's email address. That's just a quick reminder. She is always there to answer your questions. So if you have any questions about your submissions, so even before you submit something, if you have a question, or if let's say she sends you a submission back for a resubmit and you have questions, you can always reach out to her. The program is set up for you to have that support along the way. Let me also show you in the portal as well. As I mentioned, the portal is supposed to be a one-stop shop for you. So if you click here, it will allow you to email your coach. So if you have, put the name of the topic, submit a question, and it should send you a message back once your coach has a chance to respond. So your coach is there to be a support system for you. Don't feel as if you're alone going through this. Like I said, even though she couldn't be here today, we all work together and support each other as well as our candidates. So keep that in mind. Make sure if you have questions, you're not sitting there wondering about it. You're getting those questions asked or answered. I don't know why I can't seem to get my words right today. The last thing that I'm going to put in the chat for today is kind of a reflection piece. So it's a Jamboard again. I just put it in the chat. You should be able to click on it and then add a sticky note. So based on your work time today, we are asking you to just kind of reflect on, I used to think, but now I know. This can be in reference to the program. This can be in reference to STEM learning, anything in regards to that. So if you'll take a few minutes, to make sure you are adding your thoughts to our Jamboard. We would really appreciate it. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to work on that before we wrap up today. Yeah, I'm going to drop it one more time in the chat to make sure everybody got it. If you'll just click on this link here, over on the left-hand side, you'll click on a sticky note so you can add your thought. About one more minute to get your thought on our Jamboard. I love the positivity. Never thought you'd get through this, but I now know it's doable. You know, again, it is doable. So, the next thing that we're going to kind of talk about is some of the things that we mentioned today, as well as some other tips and tricks. So, yes, you can use an observation anywhere. It can be your own teaching. We encourage your own teaching because we are working on more self reflective practices. But you can have any observation, whether it's a colleague, again, a video you find online, or a video from our portal. Again, you can work in any order that you choose. So if you want to begin at the end, you can. Or, like I said, you can just kind of decide which ones pair well together and work on a few at a time. So the next slide is going to lead you into some of those great suggestions. I know I've hit on a few of them already, but we do recommend printing out all of those collecting documents, kind of get yourself ready to work. Put them in a binder, or like I put mine in like a little spiral ring where anytime I was ready to go in and do an observation, I had them there. At the front, put a checklist. So that way, as soon as you have one knocked out of the park, you can. I even had multiple columns on my checklist. So once I had done the observation, I had a check. And then once I actually had submitted it, I had another check. Oftentimes I would do the observation and then get busy, and then my indicators wouldn't get submitted right away. Again, life happens, we know that, but we don't want you to keep spinning your wheels at the same time. Use observations more than once. I know I've already mentioned that today. And I'm going to show you guys something that I believe Audrey sent you all was a calendar. So let me share that really quick as well. So this compacted calendar that Audrey should have sent out to you all kind of shows you kind of that checklist, and along with, okay, work on maybe these couple of actions at a time. So where you're breaking it down. So action 1, kind of focusing in on these 3. So, and then she even put, projected dates to help you guys kind of stay on track to get finished. I know everybody has a different deadline depending on different scenarios, but this would be a great way to kind of keep yourself on track to be finishing. So check out this. Again, we do encourage you to collaborate with your peers. So you don't necessarily have to be an island. We encourage you to work together on your observations. Keep in mind that your portal work should be your own work. So whenever you are submitting any written work, it should be in your own words and in your own thoughts. But we do encourage you to be kind of accountability partners as you're working through the program. Lastly, on our shoulda, coulda, woulda, make sure you're reaching out to your coach when you have questions. Again, I put her information in here, and I'll make sure when I send out a follow up email, I include her information for you again. She's there to support you. We've been through the program, so we know what it's like, and we only want the very, very best for you. Lastly, just a quick thank you. So, thank you for spending an hour of your time with us today. I know there's not enough hours in the day to get everything done, but we're here to support you. So, if there's anything that we can do along your journey, that's our goal. Just make sure you're reaching out and asking us. Whenever I send out the follow up email, I will be sure to include the documents from both the group that worked with me on Indicator 1 as well as with Christy on Indicator 26. I should be able to get my follow up email out to you guys by tomorrow, and it'll include the link as well as anything that we referenced in today's session. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to hang out for a few minutes and help you guys out. If not, wishing you the very best on your NCST certificate journey.
Thank you. I really appreciate this. We definitely needed it to kind of jumpstart our efforts again. And even though that schedule has dates that have passed, that still gives us like perspective on trying to get it done in a reasonable amount of time. Probably by like June, like the first week in June. So I still think that's a good schedule to use.
Right.
Give us something to shoot for. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Where can I get that schedule?
I will put it in the chat, and then I will make sure it's sent out in the follow up email as well.
Thank you so much. This was really helpful. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Again, thank you for your time today. All right. Any other questions that Christine and I can help with? Thank you, Christy, for your time. We appreciate it.
I'm gonna head out, Brittany.
Awesome. Thank you. So I think it's just us left. If you would type in the chat the email you would like for me to use, I can make sure that I'm using it. I have whatever email was provided to me, which off the top of my head, I'm not sure what it is. Let me see if I can find it.
I guess I was asking, I need to make sure that your email, I wanted to make sure it's not going to spam or something. So you get what I'm saying? Someone had to forward me this information for this meeting because I wasn't getting your emails.
Okay. And like I said, maybe I left it off or, but I'll make sure. So when I email it, I'm going to email and check in with you to make sure 100% that you're getting it. So like I said, I tried to include everybody, but I may have missed somebody at the same time. That could have been my fault. but I'm emailing it to myself now, so I'll make sure I do that.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you. Have a great night.